Hey everybody, this is Keishan again. Looking at a VOD review from probably a few days ago, actually, of me playing against a Fiora. My deck has changed drastically since actually this VOD was recorded, but I still figured it was worthwhile to look over this game, since especially game one, I made a lot of blunders, but was getting a little bit better towards the end. So right now, Dustros Lab and Monastery Hirana, it basically feels like both the battlefields are useless for the other player. And luckily, my opponent actually missed their turn one play. I just do probably the most optimal play, which is Soaring Scout. If I had the Black Rose Dignitary, it would be even better. And my goal here is just to try to ramp up and try to keep up with the Fiora. All of my gear hate is actually in my sideboard, so I can't really clear out things like their BF swords or, Dorans and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to ramp up, try to find some answers in the late game, either through things like Rune Rex and Karthus combo, or perhaps being able to like Hidden Blade or Call the Weak some of their key units. I choose to get rid of the Watchful Sentry because I figured with the yellow LeBlanc in my champion zone, I have enough card draw. And from what I recall, my hand was pretty good outside of that Watchful Sentry. So right now, I'm just playing a few units in base, hoping to ramp up. And this is actually my first blunder. I played Echo Recurrent in my base, and forgetting that Fiora actually has the ability to challenge, which you will see in a little bit. Nonetheless, it at least gets rid of one challenge from their hand, which I think is very vital for the Fiora player to be able to kill off my Karthuses in the backline. They don't really have any other way of backline access other than, like, I don't know, like maybe forcing a Call a Week, but I don't think Fioras would actually play that these days. So they get the BF Sword online. I did not expect my Soaring Scouts to survive anyways, so at this point, I'm just trying to ramp up and hoping to be able to make a play with the Echo next turn. But what you'll see is with 2 runes up, they're about to challenge my Echo, which is unfortunate. Also realized I forgot to put on my, what's it called? The reflective lens, so a lot of the cards are really hard to see in this game. Apologies for that one, and the lighting is just kind of poor. So yeah, they accidentally they basically took out my Echo, which is not great. From here, I'm just hoping that they don't have any more challenges. I can kind of ramp up my units and get tempo back up in my base, and hopefully be able to blow through this Fiora. What would be pretty key right now is if I had called a week, I would have totally ripped it right now. Since they're tapped out, it would be nice to be able to kill this Fiora without having to deal with the deflect cost. I just play LeBlanc since I'm a little low on card draw, and my runes look relatively healthy at this stage of the game. Just trying to keep up with Fiora's rune ramping as well. They ramp down twice just to equip the BF Sword as well as do the challenge. And here I just decided that it's not a good idea to leave this Fiora on the battlefield. And so I paid a deflect cost and Hidden Blade this Fiora, which I also think is a pretty big blunder. I think at the time I was just thinking my runes were at a healthy state given the hand that I had and what I could and could not play. But I think it would have been easier if I just kept my runes going for a little while longer. My main thing is that Monastery Hirana is relatively useless to me, so I wanted to be able to clear the Dustros Lab and get in there as soon as possible. But truthfully, I could probably have waited just a turn, keep my runes healthy, and see what other options I had to be able to get into Dustros. In worst case scenario, I just go into Monastery Hirana, clone my LeBlancs, and just hold down the fort for a little while. My opponent's taking a little while to figure out what they want to do. From their hand, it looks like they have an unsung hero, but they end up playing the Fiora from the champion zone, likely because they're trying to get some point tempo on the board. And so from here, they end up equipping the BF Sword from what I remember. Once it gets to that point, there we go. They get mighty, so they tap one, and I feel as though they feel comfortable just seeing what they could do from here. It essentially gets them a free equip every single time they put on the BF sword, because the Fiora legend is gonna just pump out another ruin exhausted. Oh, it looks like they didn't ready this time, so that's good. So I just run the LeBlanc in. I don't expect it to really survive either, but I'm short on answers in my hand right now, so I make the LeBlanc clone, get rid of the Stupefy because one might's not going to really change too much. If he has an answer to the 6 might there outside of just the Fiora worthy, then it's going to blow me out regardless of just a difference of 1 might. And so I'm just trying to decide how best to develop my board as we proceed, knowing that I likely will get quite a few card draw. I decided to pass, and I think that was because I actually had a Vi in hand and I was trying to blow out my opponent. Let's see what ends up happening. So right now they're probably at a better position than I am because they have quite a bit of card draw from me hidden blading them, and their runes are pretty healthy. They decided to play the Ash, which I think is not too big of a deal when it comes to LeBlanc decks. I think they probably should have decided it out in the later games. I'm trying to decide what to do right now, because if they see my hand, they can choose to banish a card. So what I end up doing is, in response, I play the Vi first, so they can't choose to banish that card. And then I show them the other two, which I found to be less useful anyways. Which is the Death Grip, Black Lorio's Dignitary. They likely got rid of the Death Grip because that's the only like combat trick I can do right now. Black Rose is something that they don't have to deal with until the next turn, and it's kind of useless at this point in the game anyways, other than just being a body. With 2 runes up, in retrospect, I likely should have just preemptively Death Gripped and got that out of my hand, but honestly it doesn't really change much because Death Grip will, in response to Ash, proc first, I'll draw, and then it gives them another opportunity to take a fresh card out of my hand that might be of more value than just like Death Gripping for no reason. So here they're trying to decide what to do. Kind of just waiting to see what happens. Ideally, this cloned LeBlanc survives so I can draw 3 on my beginning phase, but it seems unlikely. They run in with 6 might. They kill my Vi. And if I recall, they're going to put the other BS sword on. And so this is where I think they made a blunder. I think it was out of greed of proccing the Fiora when they could have procced it earlier. And they seem to value keeping this Fiora worthy alive a little longer than they really should have. So they paid like 2 power to basically equip the BF sword and ready the Ash. Here, board state's not too great for me. I don't have any units down. Luckily, I have enough runes to try to make some answers. I top decked the Call of the Week, so I just want to force my opponent to choose one of the sides to get rid of things. And then I'm just trying to develop my board as much as I can with the cards that I have. And my hand is just not too great from this point onwards. So they're at 4 points right now, and I'm at 2. From what I recall, I only have 2 cards in hand, which is not great. And the game is starting to snowball out of control from my side. My general feeling is they have quite a bit of answers to a lot of my cards that could come up right now. They run in for 5, which I think is a little too fast. My general feeling is that 4 points, 5 points, there's no real difference. And so they likely should have just equipped the BF sword on Unsung Hero in case I snipe it to make it mighty, and then tap the Fiora legend for one channeled rune. They seem to be really eating up the runes. They likely think that my board state is really weak right now, so they're just trying to turbo their board state so that there's no way for me to come back. I draw my hand. It's not looking too great. This game has quite a lot of blunders, and I'm just trying to find a way back in. I'm really desperate, so I put down a Soaring Scout just to get the Death Grip, draw one, and it's not looking too great. And if I recall, I am nearing the state of just about to scoop this game. And there it is. Yes, my hand had Honest Broker and a Sacrifice, which is not great. A lot of blunders that game. I feel like even from a week ago, even though this game was recorded then, I could see a lot more mistakes and things that I would not do that I would do now. This is my general sideboard right now. In my current iteration, I don't run Turn to Dust anymore. I think sometimes, especially against a Fiora as an example, it's really important to be able to remove the equipment now to lower their might, and then for me to be able to contest. I decided in the Singularities because I need some board clear, and I actually had Ruinations in my sideboard, but I'm really scared of the riposte. So I opted not to put in Ruinations just in case, because if they repost the Ruination, it's quite a blowout. And on Windswept Helic, my game plan is just try my best to turbo points as fast as possible. I tap 2 and play Soaring Scout, which is my ideal first turn. And from here, I'm just trying to do the ganking trick with my clones and try to get 2 points every single round. And then hopefully have enough might held on Windswept Helic that they can never get in there. And I'll just keep cloning things over to the other battlefield and continually get 2 points at a time. So I run a Soaring Scout in, make the clone, and then gank over. And here's a pretty hard position to be in. I'm trying to decide whether or not I need to play blue LeBlanc and where to play blue LeBlanc. But instead, I just didn't want my opponent to get a card draw, so I just get rid of the Unsung Hero immediately. And I just happened to have another 2-drop, so that worked out pretty well. The 1 rune I deramped, I just ramped back up through the Soaring Scout clone dying. I felt as though if I play LeBlanc, blue LeBlanc, there's a chance they'll blow me out with something like a Punch First, or just like an equipment, plus like a BF Sword, and then just run it in and trade with me with the Unsung Hero. And so it felt like my best play was actually just to remove units from play and slow down their tempo. Especially since the clone of Soaring Scout is going to die anyways, unless I decide to play blue LeBlanc directly onto Sunken Temple. They play Fiora worthy, totally fine. From here, they likely don't have any other plays. I go to 3 points on my turn, and I'm at 6 runes, which is great. I opt not to clone the Soaring Scout anymore because with 6 runes, an Honest Broker, and a Soaring Scout on the board, I didn't feel like I needed to keep ramping up my runes anymore. Gank over for that 4th point. From here, ideally, I think if I had a Riptide Rex, I would have probably ripped it on the Windswept Helic, but I didn't, so I developed the LeBlanc to try to get some might on the board. That way I can hold down Windswept when it's time. With the Soaring Scout on the Sunken Temple, and it kind of forces the opponent to try to answer that, or else I'm going to get another point for free for like essentially like a really weak body. And so my hope is that by hedging this way that they likely will not go to Windswept. One thing they could do is they can actually go to Windswept right now, maybe equip something, and then if you're worthy becomes mighty, you can ready again and then gank over, but let's see how it plays out. So this is their first point. Tap 4, BF Sword, and it kind of seems like this is what is happening. They switch up the runes, which is totally fine because they needed the yellow rune. And then they tap the other yellow rune to gank over exactly as we described. Most of this is forced due to Soaring Scout being on the other battlefield. They likely don't want me to get those 2 points. Seems like they passed on a Sunken Temple. And they decided to challenge my blue LeBlanc, which is a little unfortunate. So in this one turn, they ramped down 3 runes, now 4 runes. I feel pretty good about things. I don't have great cards in my hand, but I know that if I just top deck something that might give me a little bit more card draw tempo, that this might be good. And it seems like the game is slowly sliding out of their hands anyways. And if I recall, this is the game where I made a miscalculation. For some reason, I thought this Fiora worthy was at 7 might and not 6. And just neglected to singularity the Fiora worthy for some reason. And you'll see this here, and I asked my opponent kindly to like rewind a little bit for my sake. So I go to 5, make a clone of Honest Broker, because why not? I had a Soaring Scout in my hand. And the last hand he already knows is Singularity, and I don't know why I made this huge blunder of like not recognizing that the Fiora is at 6 and not 7. I guess technically, even if it were at 7, looking at this board state, I could have just Singularity and ran it in with the clone, and then held to 6 afterwards with the real Honest Broker. I like accidentally passed, and I was like, wait, hold on. Like, I think I made a miscalculation. And they were nice enough for me to rewind, even though it's been a long freaking time. Yeah, we've been playing for so long before I even recognized that it was at 6 points. I was like, my bad, bro. Yeah, so he lets me rewind. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Did you want to conquer it then, in those cases?
I even made a second blunder too. I don't even know what was going on here in my head. Go to 6 points. Oh no. So this is a pretty good board state. They're likely only running 1 Fiora worthy, so unless they have like a first mate right now, they likely cannot ready up their unsung hero. And even if they do, I'll go to 7, and then hopefully with whatever card that comes next, I'll be able to get the 8th point or even hold. And it generally looks like they don't have an answer to be able to ready this unsung hero, and they scoop it right here. Yeah, that was a pretty sloppy game from my side. Again, man, I think overall LeBlanc has been really hard to learn. Even over the last week, I feel like the difference in how much I know about this deck has drastically changed, and even my deck list has changed quite a bit. I'm pretty happy with my sideboard, so all I do is switch out the Champion Zone unit. And my last battlefield is the Forbidden Waste. And it's a pretty good one, I would say, against Fiora. They're not running an extreme amount of bodies at any time. And for Forbidden Waste, usually I always have a clone with the real one after tapping the LeBlanc Legend, so I'm not too worried about the effect. It's just more of a debuff to my opponent's playstyle. And so they decided to play Trifarian, which I think I'm pretty happy with as well, because I tend to have a lot of small bodies in the beginning and multiple small bodies. They missed a turn 2 unit, which is amazing. And I once again just tap, put the Soaring Scout in. Would have been better if I had the Black Rose Dignitary, but the difference is pretty small. And so I had 2 options here. I can either go to Forbidden Waste and bait my opponent into it, or I can just go to Trifarian, duplicate, and that presents 4 might on the board. And so I decided, whatever, I'm just going to go to Trifarian and force my opponent to... Oh, yeah. Ooh, there we go. Force my opponent to either answer 4 might, or, have to go into Forbidden Waste. I get rid of the Watchful Sentry again because I have LeBlanc Legend, so I'm not too worried about the card draw, and then I just call the weak, force the Fiora off that has deflect anyways. And this makes it so that my opponent cannot re-equip the heirloom until they figure out a way to get XP, which is really good. I tap my last 3 in 1 power and get the LeBlanc in, and I essentially just pass from this point. So right now I think my opponent is just struggling to find good units on board. They played the Ash again, which is very interesting. Like, once again, I was saying before, I feel like they should just probably side out the Ash against my deck. Like, I have so many card draw and dupes at the same cards, and I don't have a very like linear game plan. So even if they take and banish 1 or 2 cards, then it doesn't really matter. And truthfully, it's like I'm about to hold anyways, unless they find a way to kill the Soaring Scout. So they take the Rune Ranks because, you know, if they take out 1 Vi, I still have another. Likely just to, you know, limit some of my options. And they decide to challenge the Soaring Scout, which is totally fine by me. They deramp. This is all in hopes to keep me from unbanishing my Rune Rex, which is fair, but it's not great. I think they just don't have that many good cards in their hand currently. I run the LeBlanc into Trifarian, knowing that I'm going to clone it, which now presents 4 might on each of them, which is quite a wall to get through. Get rid of the Black Rose Dignitary. It's starting to get to a stage of the game where, you know, Rune Ramp is not that important to me, and I know that the other 2 cards in my hand are 2 Vi's, so I just let it be and I pass to my opponent. He also notices 2 Vi's, so he's kind of scared to run in there. It's presenting way too much might on Trifarian. But at the same time, if they go into Forbidding Waste, they're really scared of the -2 when defending alone as well. And this heirloom is still kind of dead. And I know that even though I just have 2 Vi's in hand right now, at the very least, I will get 2 card draws. At a maximum, I'll get 3 from, or if the LeBlanc clone manages to somehow survive until the beginning phase. And it looks like their hand is not too great. I think they have what looks like a Sabotage, and then that pump spell that gives you +3. With +3 on the Ash, they would just be trading with me, which is not ideal for them because they needed to get XP back to get this heirloom back on, and they just simply go to Forbidding Waste and pass. My LeBlanc clone dies on beginning phase, gets me to 2 card draw, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not I make the clone after this. Decide, since I'm on Trifarian, I might as well, because it presents 4 more might on this battlefield, which is great. Get rid of Honest Broker. It's a little too slow and too small of a body at this stage. And right now, I feel like I'm in a very comfortable position. I have a lot of ruins, a lot of bodies, more incoming card draw if any of these LeBlancs die. And so I just take the chance to kind of develop my board. I do a Call a Week to try to clear out the only unit it seems like they had. I get rid of the LeBlanc clone, because why not? And since they're going first, they have to look for Fiora worthy in their draw pile. And I don't think it's likely they'll just randomly find it, or I don't even know if they keep it in their deck if they're not putting it in the champion zone. So I decided, since I have 2 Vi's anyways, I think I develop one of them just to get more might on the board. And I save the other one just to have an ambush later if I need it. And I'm up so many points that I decide to just kind of hold and it looks like my opponent has to completely pass the turn, which is really unfortunate. Likely means that they have no units. I decide I don't need any more card draw from this point, if I remember, so I decide to clone the Vi Legend for more might. And then, oh, never mind. I do the LeBlanc. So it likely is just because I'm presenting so much might and he knows I have a Vi in hand that I'm not too scared. So I just do what I need to in order to get more card draw, get more options into the late game. This heirloom is pretty much useless, so I just get rid of the turn to dust for now. Because, you know, there's no point in keeping this card if he's never going to be able to equip the heirloom. I think if he had a BS sword, he would have just developed the BS sword instead of completely passing, so he unlikely has any more units in play. I pull back LeBlanc and Vi and develop a Rune Rex here, mainly because LeBlanc has assaults and Vi has stun on attacking, so I figured this would be a good opportune time to try to capture Forbidding Waste in the next turn. Put a Karthus in base, and I made another blunder again and just asked for a rewind because I figured Vi plus the Vi in my hand will be enough to take Forbidden Waste no matter what. So maybe having no LeBlanc here for the Death Knell, if he does decide to run in, would be helpful. Did develop a Pit Rookie, which likely means this is their only unit, which is unfortunate. And I think they're just digging for answers now, which is not great. They challenged the Karthus to try to get rid of some double Death Knells that might happen. They sacrificed the Pit Rookie because they're just looking for answers desperately. And even though they're at 12 runes now, it looks like the game is pretty much locked out from them. And you have to play a second heirloom that they can now equip one of the two because they have 1 XP. Go to 4. Draw 2 from the clone LeBlanc. And I think from here I just clone the Rune Rex. I don't think I need more cards. Let's see what I decide to do. Yeah, it's the Rune Rex. It's technically 7 might, but I just didn't want to take 2 dice out. And I figure at this point, with the cards that I have, might as well just go capture Forbidding Waste. And then develop a little bit more. I think I had another Karthus in hand, which is pretty rough for my opponent. And I'm holding 6 runes up, which is enough for a Vi. It's also enough for a Death Grip if I want to proc the Rune Rex clones Death Knell early. And I just pass the turn soon to my opponent. Oh, let's see what I decide to do. Oh. 3 ruins. What did I decide? From this point, the game is like pretty locked out. I think it's like generally pretty over. I'm looking likely to decide whether or not I intend on playing the second Vi, or if I think the Death Grip is more important since I only have enough runes to do one or the other. It looks like a tap 3 and 2, and likely that's a mirror image. This gives me more bodies, but it gets reposted, which is totally fine. I still am holding up enough runes to Death Grip and just pass my opponent. I think at this point the game is over because he drew a punch first. Yeah, so this one is kind of rough for my opponent. I think they just had a really bad card draw. Even after the next few cards, it looks like they weren't getting that many big bodies for a while. So they just had a few up. This kind of reinforces why I think the singularities are good. I think unless they have equipment to juggle around, a lot of their bodies will be under 6 might, and I feel like I can clear relatively well.
what I should have done.
Yeah, a lot of lessons to be learned here. I feel like, in the last week I've taken coaching sessions, went to multiple Nexus nights, had a lot of like discussions with friends that are also playing LeBlanc, and it's been really helpful. And I think my gameplay has improved quite a bit from even this state. If you have any questions about LeBlanc, I'll try my best to answer in ways that I think are valuable. Still definitely playtesting a little bit to see what is best. And with the upcoming Vancouver RQ, if you guys are coming, feel free to try to find me. I'll be there, mainly doing side events. Because I was too scared to do the main event. But yeah, hope you guys like this content. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll try my best to upload more VODs in the future soon. See y'all later.
Oh my god. You need a ruination right now. Part of the cards.
That was interesting.